In this video, we're going to talk about all the skills you've heard of but haven't been able to do yet. We're talking about lunges and punches. We're talking about bike-body separation. We're talking about all kinds of things. Standing up to the jump, pumping, cornering. We're going to talk about all of it because here's the thing. If you've heard of all of these skills, you know what to do, you need to know what actually to do to make it happen. And so that's what this video is. I'm going to cover exactly how to make it happen without trying. My name is Dave Davidson. I'm the founder of Mountain Bike Academy, and I'm on a mission to stop the crash crisis by restoring athleticism. So listen up, because I'm making this video for you simply because I run performance intensives for intermediate riders, and I have a lot of information and a lot of data on what riders are going through right now. And this is something that it's like 100% of riders know what they need to do, but they struggle doing it. So the first thing we want to do is we want to talk about something that everybody has heard of. It's called bike-body separation. What is bike-body separation? It's the thing you do to take the bike and separate it from your body, okay? Now, the reason why we want to do bike-body separation in the first place is because it creates the ability to carve a corner. So if you're just locked in with a bike like this and leaning, you won't really be able to corner unless you have the help of a berm. To get bike body separation right means that you're able to go out and corner and carve. And so whoever your favorite influencer or person that's teaching you how to do this, I mean, frankly, one of the best videos out there is from Aaron Gwynn. He's got a great video on this, so props to Aaron. But the problem is, why are there so many riders who have seen the video still come to me for instruction and coaching? Well, the reason why is because there's static and there's dynamic movements, okay? So static and dynamic movements are different. I talked about this in depth in my last video. If you wanna go check it out right here, I'll put the link. And when we do bike body separation, what you need is you need the ability to keep the torso nice and static. In other words, we want to be able to control and hold the torso. We also want to hold the arms. We want to position the arms in a way where we tilt the bike over. We want to be able to position the legs where we're turning on top of the bike and twisting and doing all kinds of stuff. But the reason why you're not able to do it is either because you lack mobility in your hips, and it's also because you probably have a weak core. So the reason that so many riders spend 10, 20, 30 years knowing what they want to do. Like, guys, I just got off of a call with a rider, and he has been riding for 40 years. And this is super common. You know, I don't want you guys to feel bad if you know what the skill is, and then you introduce people to riding, or you bring friends out there and they end up beating you. It's not really your fault. It's just no one showed you how to move on the bike, okay? So the very first thing you have to do is not just do more bike body separation. You have to look at how you move off the bike. You have to look at, do you have impediments in your movement? Do you have old injuries that have prevented you from being the type of person that moves with your full range of motion, with strength throughout that range of motion? And finally, do you have control over that on command without thinking about it? These are the things that really skilled mountain bikers have that you need to work towards. And I'm talking to you specifically because riders that I talk to, and again, there's 35,000 of you right now that are following the channel. I'm assuming that a lot of you guys are like this, but everyone that I talk to, I say, hey, how much longer are you looking to ride your bike? And they go, I mean, yeah, 10, 20 years, 30 years. Everyone wants to shred and shred more the older that they get. We don't want to decline. So you have to pay attention to this. This is something that's so critically important. And a lot of times it just means starting somewhere, right? So if you want to increase your hip mobility, or you want to increase your ability to strengthen the core, I mean, you can watch the last video, but honestly, it's just basic stuff to start off. You know, when's the last time you did a plank and held it for 30 seconds times 3? When is the last time that you spent time moving your hips and articulating the hip joints? I mean, when is the last time you did that? Now, if you're doing this frequently and it's still not coming together, that's another complex thing I might talk about in another video, but for right now, just with cornering and bike body separation, you have to work on things like your mobility, you have to work on things like your muscle activation in order to do it in a way where we're standing up on top of the bike and we're able to move like this, okay? If you're struggling to do this and bike is really stiff, if all you can feel is this tight brace up here, hello there, you guys get to check out my bald spot while I fix this. How about that? If I've got a tight brace up here and then everything on the outside of my body has to lock up and be still, every rock and root and bump is gonna throw me around and I'm a passenger. Okay, so what you have to do is you have to be the one in command of the bike. Take a look at this video right here. I'm pumping through, there's rocks and roots, it's sandy, it's off camber, and then I'm able to pump back the other way and maintain traction and do it in a way that's really fun. I remember filming this and I was just having a blast. I was like, can I do it again? And the guys were like, no, we're behind schedule on the shoot. And I was like, ah, dang it. So if that's what you want, if you want to go out there and have the confidence with your turning, again, just focusing on bike body separation, for every, one person I see that has that fluidity, that cornering movement, I see 50 or 100, they're just, look, I've got great bike body separation, but their whole body is stiff. And anything that happens means that they're coming to me going, Dave, I don't know what it is, but I just can't stop braking in the middle of the turns because, well, it's because you're stiff. Decreasing stiffness and increasing all this other stuff. What's crazy about this is when you fix the root issue here with getting your body to move properly, again, you've got static strength, you've got the ability to hold the torso and move everything else around it and create suspension with your arms and legs. I told you we'd talk about everything else, like jumping, about rowing, about pumping, about punching, lunging, all of these moves that you've heard. Guess what? You fix that, you fix all of them. Now, performing the techniques, I want to break this down why this is so important. When you fix one, you fix all of them. Let me build this up for you. There's 4 different stages of any type of kinesthetic skill. And this is so true that I need to give you guys a quick story about this. So I have a friend of mine who, he does the same thing that I do, but for guitar players. So he's the leading guitar intensive in the world, to my knowledge, and they help hundreds of students every single month with a kinesthetic skill. And I was talking to him and I said, man, it's kind of crazy with these mountain bikers. What I've noticed is that when we do this order of learning and we show them how to move their body the right way without having to think about it, they discover the skill really fast and we barely have to talk about the skill. What we do is we spend all this time doing this other stuff, and he goes, oh yeah, it's just like us. And I'm like, really? And he goes, well, we found the principles of kinesthetic learning. So my friend, he just said that, yeah, when we focus on this type of learning and these spaced repetitions of the kinesthetic skill broken down into parts, we're able to build someone up into a great guitar player. So it's the same thing with mountain biking or any skill. So if you're into sailing or skiing or wake or skate or anything like that. So let me break this down for you. There's 4 different types of stages of progression, and they apply to any and every skill on the mountain bike, whether it's jumps or drops or rocks or roots or anything. And you have to start building these up from the ground up as a full, complete athlete in order to be able to enjoy the whole entire sport of mountain biking, okay? So let's break this down as simple as we possibly can. I've got a full video on this. I'll link that here if you want to see it. There's a full breakdown, but the simple version is we have activation. Muscle activation is where the brain sends a signal to the muscle to activate the muscle. That's it. There's nothing else to it. Muscle activation is important because a lot of times when you're trying to do things like corner, if the core is not activating properly, which yours probably isn't if you sit more than 3 hours a day, then you have to pass the work of the core off to other things, such as you'll have to lock your glutes, lock your hamstrings, lock your quads so that this doesn't move. And when you've got locked interface down here, well, now I have to grab onto the bars so that I can control the bike body separation effectively using the wrong muscles, okay? So this is a complete cascade of negative effects if you can't even activate the muscle in the first place. The problem is you can't feel this. You only feel the symptom. You only feel, I kind of feel stiff. I feel like I can't move much. I don't feel like I have a lot of balance. I feel like I need to grab the brakes. Those are the symptoms of having poor muscle activation, or number 2, which is neurological. So the neurological aspect of training skills is where we take bundles of muscle activations, so a group of muscle activations that mean something, such as push my leg out or grab my hands and squeeze them, something like that. These are just neurological patterns that we have without having to necessarily think about them, because we know this finger, this finger, this finger, and this finger, they all have nerves. I just squeeze hand is the neurological activation of all those different ones. Does that make sense? So the difference between this one and the first one is that it uses the muscles that your body knows how to activate in a pattern. So if we don't have this dialed in properly, then what we can do is we can feel really tired on the bike. We can feel like we're working too hard. And frankly, it's not something I want to think about too much, but I just want to explain the concept because it leads into the next one. Now, the next one is functional. Functional movement is where we take patterns and we do something that's a big natural human movement, such as a hinge. like this, or maybe rocking on the bike side to side. So these functional movements like a hinge or a squat, obviously, you know, those are pretty important. Why we need to focus on this though, is that we need to move efficiently and we need to train the body to have power through these functional movements off the bike. Because if we don't, then what ends up happening is we'll cheat and we'll use improper functional moves on the bike to do things like lose our balance, to try too hard, to run out of energy, rather than just flow through and like pump a roller or pop a jump. When you have these techniques and you're trying to be functionally good at them, it helps you apply power, apply smoothness, and like feel good about your bike. That's why that's important. The fourth and the final piece, and this is the one that most mountain bikers are super obsessed with to their detriment, is technical. This is where we apply functional movements of the body to the sport itself, okay? If we are doing technical work, it means that the functional, the neurological, and the muscle activations have already been built and are used properly without having to think about it. That's the key. That's why it's really hard for a mountain biker who's been doing this for 20 or 30 years. I mean, you guys are the ones that should be able to figure out anything. You should be, you know, doing flip whips over 40-foot jumps if you've been riding that long. Why haven't you? Well, it's because one of these pieces are missing. It's because it's really difficult, and again, I'm not picking on you here, it's really difficult to be a dad or a career person, a professional of anything, and still be much better at mountain biking because you need to develop other patterns in life, and they don't necessarily help your mountain biking, okay? What do you do? What do you do if you've been riding for 10 or 20 or 30 years and you can't put it all together? Well, you need a shortcut. You need a way to train your body on how to do 1, 2, and 3 so that you can focus on 4. And so when you have this process dialed, when you have it completely just dialed in, it only takes about 15 minutes a day plus 2 or 3 different sessions a week to get a pretty, frankly, out of shape rider into being pretty decent at this. So, and this is something we found from working with students in the Athlete Accelerator, and like I said, this is something that typically we see about 2 weeks and riders will start seeing results. So I just want to give you guys some hope. You know, look, if you actually work on your fitness and you do more than just, you know, lifting weights and doing some stretches, and you do something about this, then we can really help you. Now, if this sounds like you, congratulations, you're part of the movement. Remember I said this is a movement to solve the crash crisis in mountain biking, and I mean, you're part of it. If you're listening to this and it's resonating with you and you're looking at your riding going, yeah, I do have some big goals and I'm willing to hit them, great, you're in the right spot. So what I want you to do is I want you to go watch my new training for 2025. It's how riders are using instinct activation to shred with confidence even if they don't have a lot of time to practice. So this new training, I made it just for you, and it breaks down exactly how you can work through these different phases, and it shows you what to do instead in detail. So watch it now, go check it out, and I'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for watching.